A poor girl asks for a piece of cake at a party, but a rich woman shouts, "Keep your hands off, that food is not for you." And when the young billionaire hears it, he does something shocking. The flower garden shone under the night sky, like an island of light and music in the middle of the city's darkness. Colorful lanterns hung between the trees, their reflections dancing on the perfectly trimmed grass. Men in impeccable suits and women adorned with expensive dresses chatted animatedly, while champagne glasses clinked to the gentle rhythm of a string orchestra discreetly positioned in a corner. An elegant banner hung above the entrance. Annual Gala, helping children in need. The contrast could not have been more striking. Crystal glasses raised in toasts by people whose wristwatches cost more than many families spent in an entire year. In the center of the garden, on a marble table, a 5-tier cake decorated with golden sugar flowers reigned supreme, surrounded by trays of gourmet appetizers and elaborate sweets. Damon Cross, at 32, observed the scene with a look that blended professional satisfaction and personal restlessness. As host and principal organizer of the gala, he wore a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, without excessive ostentation. His fortune, built on a series of technological innovations over the last 10 years, now allowed him to devote time to social causes, though part of him always questioned the real effectiveness of such events. "Mr. Cross," an assistant approached discreetly, "donations have already exceeded the anticipated amount, and several journalists are requesting an interview." Damon nodded. "Thank you, Martin. Let them know I'll make a statement at the closing." As the assistant walked away, Damon couldn't help but notice the irony of the situation. Everyone was there to help needy children, but the expenses for decoration, food and drink could feed hundreds of them for months. Even so, he knew this was the dynamic of the world he lived in. To attract substantial donations, it was necessary to put on a show that met the social expectations of the elite. On the other side of the property, beyond the ornate gates surrounding the garden, a small figure watched the party with wide eyes. Maya, only 4 years old, had brown hair that fell in unruly curls over her thin shoulders. The blouse that had once been colorful now showed an undefined shade after countless washes in public faucets. Her worn-out shorts barely covered her scraped knees, and her bare feet had already developed calluses that allowed her to walk on stones without feeling pain. But none of that mattered at that moment. What held her attention were the glow of the lights, the sound of the music, and above all, the irresistible aroma carried by the wind, a rich, sweet smell that made her empty stomach contract painfully. Maya clung to the bars of the gate, her small nose sniffing like a hungry animal. Since her mother had died 3 months ago, full meals had become a rarity. She survived on whatever she could find or what people occasionally gave her. A stale piece of bread here, a slightly bruised fruit there. The wind changed direction, bringing a fresh wave of aromas that made her mouth water. Cake. She was sure of it. A huge, wonderful cake, like the ones she saw in bakery windows as she passed by, pressing her nose against the glass until someone chased her away. "Just a tiny piece," she whispered to herself, her fingers gripping the gate bars more tightly. No one would even notice. Her eyes scanned the length of the fence, looking for a gap, an opening. Then she noticed a spot where the metal met the ground unevenly, creating a small gap. Next to it, dense bushes offered cover. If she was quick, if she was silent. "I can do this," she murmured, summoning the courage she needed. She looked around. The street was deserted at that hour, and the event's security seemed focused on the main entrances. Crouching down, Maya tested the gap with her hand. It was tight, but she might fit. With agility born of necessity, she squeezed through, feeling the damp earth under her thin body as she crawled. When she finally emerged on the other side, she quickly crouched behind a large ornamental plant pot. Her heart was pounding so hard she feared the sound might give her away. But nobody looked in her direction. Everyone was too busy with their conversations, their drinks, and their practiced smiles for the occasional cameras. Maya waited until she was sure she was safe and then began to move. She stayed in the shadows, sliding from one hiding place to another, drawing ever closer to the heart of the party. With each step, the aroma grew stronger, guiding her like a beacon. Elisa Rochefort was in her element. At 40, though looking 30 thanks to regular cosmetic treatments, she wore a red dress that highlighted her silhouette. Her perfectly styled blonde hair framed features that knew exactly when to smile and at whom. As one of the city's most recognized socialites, Elisa had turned her presence at charity events into a personal brand. "Elisa, darling, you always bring such glamour to our causes," praised a local politician's wife, a diamond necklace reflecting the lantern lights on her neck. "It's the least I can do," Elisa replied with a calculated smile. "These children deserve all our support." As she spoke, her eyes swept the room, assessing who else had noticed her presence and which photographers might be capturing the moment. Her participation in events like that was carefully documented on her social media, where she cultivated the image of a dedicated philanthropist. That was when Elisa noticed something out of place. Near the central table, where the majestic cake was displayed, a small, grimy figure looked out of place among the elegance. A child in tattered clothes and bare feet was stealthily approaching the dessert table. Maya had made it. After skirting groups of adults and avoiding waiters, she was finally in front of the table with the enormous cake. The sight was even more impressive up close. Layers of fluffy batter covered with white icing and golden decorations that glittered under the lights. Her stomach ached with hunger, and she could only think of tasting just a bite of that sugary wonder. She looked around nervously. Everyone seemed too busy talking to notice her. Summoning courage, Maya timidly reached for a small pastry at the edge of the table, something she thought she could grab without attracting attention. That was when an elegant woman approached quickly. Maya froze, her hand in midair, caught red-handed. For a moment she considered running, but something held her back. Maybe it was the exhaustion from days on the run, or maybe some naive thought that, at an event about helping children, someone might understand her hunger. "Ma'am," Maya whispered, her small voice almost lost in the hum of the party. "May I have a piece of cake?" Elisa Rochefort's face changed instantly. Her eyes widened in shock and outrage. Her perfectly arched eyebrows drew together, and her bright red mouth twisted in an expression of disgust. She stepped back as though facing something contagious. "Keep your hands off!" Her voice cracked the air like a whip. "That food is not for you." The shout was so sudden and sharp that the music seemed to stop abruptly. Conversations ended in mid-sentence. Glasses were suspended in mid-air. Dozens of eyes turned to the central table, where a small girl cowered before Elisa Rochefort's fury. Maya felt as though she'd been slapped. Her face burned with shame, and tears began to blur her vision. She didn't understand. The banner said the event was to help children. She was a child who needed help. Why was she being treated like that? "Someone call security," Elisa continued, her tone dripping with scorn. "How did this beggar get in here? This is a private event." Maya took a step back, tears rolling down her dirty cheeks. She wanted to run, but her legs felt like lead. The silence that now dominated the hall was suffocating, with dozens of stares pinned on her. Some surprised, others disapproving, a few sympathetic. Damon Cross watched the scene unfold with growing discomfort. Standing only a few yards away, he had seen the small child quietly approach the table. He noticed her bare feet, her worn-out clothes, and the way her eyes fixed on the cake with a hunger that could only be real. When Elisa screamed, something inside him snapped. It was as though, suddenly, the entire artificiality of the event had been exposed by that hungry child. The dividing line between those who talk about helping and those who actually need help, revealed to everyone's eyes. With firm, determined steps, Damon crossed the space between him and the central table. He ignored the murmurs that arose as he passed. His gaze was fixed on the trembling little girl, who was struggling not to cry. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice was calm but firm, silencing the whispers. "I believe we're forgetting the purpose of this event." Damon positioned himself beside Maya, subtly placing himself between her and Elisa. With deliberate movements, he picked up a porcelain plate and served a generous slice of the main cake. Then he knelt to her eye level. "What's your name?" he asked gently. The girl hesitated, glancing quickly at Elisa, who was seething in silent outrage. "Maya," she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "Maya," Damon repeated with a smile, offering her the plate with the slice of cake. "This event is to help children who need it. If there's anyone here who deserves this cake, that someone is you." Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. Her small, dirty but delicate hands took the plate as though it were a fragile treasure. Damon stood, meeting the surprised faces in the crowd. His gaze briefly locked with Elisa's, who looked like she had swallowed something bitter. "Charity," he declared to everyone present, "is not about who gives, but about who receives. It's not about fancy parties, but about feeding the hungry, clothing the cold, sheltering the unprotected." He paused, his eyes scanning the guests. "If we can't offer a slice of cake to a hungry child at our own charitable event, then perhaps we need to reconsider what we're really celebrating here." A heavy silence followed. Some guests looked embarrassed, staring at their own expensive shoes. Others exchanged uneasy glances. A few too, however, nodded discreetly, and Damon even noticed a small applause coming from a distant corner. Maya, still unable to believe her luck, took a small bite of the cake. The sweet flavor filled her mouth, and for a moment she forgot where she was, lost in the simple joy of satisfying her hunger with something so delicious. "This is absurd," Elisa hissed, stepping closer to Damon as he moved slightly away. Her tone was low so others wouldn't hear, but loaded with venom. "You're ruining the event over a trespasser. What message does that send your guests? That anyone can break in and be served?" Damon looked her straight in the eye. "The message is precisely what we promote, Elisa, that we care about vulnerable children. Or does that only apply when it's convenient for our social media photos?" Elisa recoiled, as if she'd been slapped. Her face, usually composed for the cameras, twisted into an expression of outrage. "You will regret this, Damon," she whispered, leaning in so only he could hear. "There are proper ways to do charity, and serving beggars at private events is not one of them." Without waiting for a response, Elisa spun on her heels and walked off, pausing only to whisper something to a few people in her closest social circle. Soon, that small group began discreetly saying their goodbyes, casting disapproving looks toward Maya. Damon watched them leave without regret. If the presence of a truly needy child disturbed them that much, maybe it was better not to rely on their donations in the future. Gradually, the party tried to regain its pace. The orchestra resumed playing, albeit more softly. Conversations resumed, many now centering on the incident and Damon's attitude. To his surprise, several guests approached him discreetly to offer their compliments, and some even increased their donations. "It was the right thing to do," commented an elderly lady, giving his arm a brief squeeze. "Congratulations on your courage." Maya finished her cake while sitting quietly in a corner where Damon had led her. He asked a waiter to bring her a glass of milk and stayed nearby, ensuring no one else bothered her. "Was it good?" he asked, when she finally wiped the last trace of icing from her plate. Maya nodded vigorously, a small smile lighting up her face for the first time. "Thank you so much, mister." Damon felt something stir inside him, a mixture of compassion, indignation at how she'd been treated, and a strange sense of responsibility he couldn't quite explain. "Where did you come from, Maya? Are your parents around?" The girl's smile disappeared as quickly as it had come. She shook her head, lowering her eyes to her own hands. "Mommy went to heaven," she whispered, "some time ago." "And your dad?" Another shake of the head. "Never met him." "Who do you live with, then?" Maya shrugged, a gesture surprisingly adult for someone so small. "Different places. Under a bridge sometimes. Or by a bakery doorway if the man lets me stay." Damon felt a lump form in his throat. A 4-year-old child, alone on the streets. And here they were, serving champagne in crystal flutes and talking abstractly about helping needy children. "Do you have any relatives? Anyone who looks after you?" Maya shook her head again, and Damon sensed his questions were beginning to trouble her. He decided to change the subject. "Do you like stories, Maya?" The girl's face lit up slightly. "Mommy used to tell me pretty stories before she got sick." "What kind of stories?" "Stories about princesses and castles and people being kind to each other." Damon smiled, though sadness flickered in his eyes. "They're good stories. Maybe I can tell you one someday." Maya looked at him curiously. "Do you know lots of stories?" "Some," he replied. "My mother also liked telling them." For a moment they shared a silent understanding, two people who had lost someone important, though in very different circumstances. The party was nearing its end. Many guests had already left, some uncomfortable with the incident, others simply keeping to the event schedule. Damon, after ensuring the donations had been properly recorded, stepped onto a small stage to give his closing speech. Maya stayed in the same spot, watching everything with tired but alert eyes. Occasionally, she cast glances toward where Elisa had exited, like an animal checking to make sure the predator was truly gone. "Thank you all for coming," Damon began, his voice amplified by the microphone. "Tonight we raised a significant amount that I promise will be fully allocated to programs serving vulnerable children." A polite round of applause followed. "However," he continued, "the events of this evening made me reflect on the distance between our intentions and reality. Therefore, I announce that, in addition to the amount already raised, I'll be matching it with my own resources." Surprised murmurs rippled through the audience, followed by more enthusiastic applause. "More importantly," Damon went on, "I'll be developing a concrete project for directly assisting children living on the streets, not just with financial donations, but with shelter, food, and education. Because true charity requires more than checks and social events. It demands genuine involvement." His eyes briefly met Maya's, and something in that child's gaze, part hopeful, part wary, touched him deeply. He had decided long before stepping on stage. He could not give a speech about helping children, and then send that particular girl back to the streets. When the last of the guests had departed, and the staff began taking down the tables, Damon looked for Maya again. He found her still sitting in the same spot, her legs dangling, watching the workers with a mixture of curiosity and sleepiness. "Maya," he called gently as he approached, "the party's over. Where are you going now?" The girl bit her lip, hesitant. Her eyes roamed over the garden, now almost empty, then turned toward the darkness beyond the gates. "I don't know," she finally admitted. "Maybe to the park. There's a comfortable bench there." Damon looked up at the night sky. It was getting colder, and dark clouds hinted at rain to come. "You can't spend the night on the street," he said, more to himself than to her. An internal conflict consumed him. What should he do? He couldn't just ignore the situation and let a 4-year-old wander the streets alone. But what alternatives did he have? Calling social services at that hour would probably mean sending her to an overcrowded temporary shelter. Taking her home with him seemed the most humane option, but also posed legal and practical complications. Maya watched him in silence, her large dark eyes seeming to see beyond his indecision. There was a sad wisdom in that gaze, as though she had already seen enough adults promise help only to vanish soon after. "Maya," Damon finally said, making a decision, "would you like to come with me? I can offer you a warm place to sleep tonight, and tomorrow we can think of a more permanent solution." The girl studied him for a long moment, as if evaluating his sincerity. "You won't yell at me like that lady did?" she finally asked, her small voice trembling slightly. Damon's heart clenched again. "No, Maya. I will never yell at you. And you won't send me away if I do something wrong. I won't send you away. Promise." Damon hesitated. He knew he shouldn't make promises he wasn't sure he could keep, but Maya's gaze demanded a definitive answer. "I promise I'll take care of you, Maya. How about staying at my house tonight? I have a guest room where you can sleep, take a hot bath and rest. Tomorrow we'll see how I can help you more." The girl's eyes widened slightly, as though the offer was too big to believe. "Your house? Really?" "Really," Damon confirmed with a gentle smile. "No one should sleep on the street, especially a brave little girl like you." The answer seemed to satisfy her. Slowly, she slid off the chair and stood up, her bare feet looking even more vulnerable on the carefully manicured lawn. "All right," she finally agreed, extending a dirty little hand toward him. Damon took it, feeling how small and fragile it was. As he guided her out of the garden, where his driver waited with the car, A strange sensation washed over him. Here he was, a man who ran one of the largest tech companies in the country, accustomed to making decisions that affected thousands of people, now completely transformed by meeting a girl who just wanted a slice of cake. "Mr. Cross?" the driver asked discreetly when they approached, clearly startled by the presence of the ragged child. "Shall we go home?" "Yes, James," Damon responded simply, helping Maya into the luxurious car. The girl looked around, marveling at the leather seats and interior lights. Her fingers lightly touched the soft upholstery, as though afraid of dirtying it. "I've never been in such a fancy car," she commented. Damon smiled, watching her settle into the seat. "I'm glad you like it. My house isn't far from here. I think you'll like it too." "Is it a big house?" asked Maya, her childlike curiosity briefly overshadowing her exhaustion. "Yes, it's quite big," Damon admitted. "Actually, too big for just one person." As the car drove through the city streets, moving away from the flower garden and the party that now felt like it had happened in another world, Damon couldn't stop thinking about how drastically his night had changed. What had started as just another charity event on his social calendar had turned into something far more personal and meaningful. Maya, meanwhile, fought off sleep, her eyes closing against her will. The warmth of the car, the sense of safety after so long, and her stomach being full for the first time in days caused her small body to relax. Before she drifted off completely, leaning against the soft seat, she murmured almost inaudibly, "Thank you for the cake, mister." Damon watched her fall asleep, a gentle smile forming on his lips. "You're welcome, Maya," he whispered, though she could no longer hear him. "You're welcome?" Damon's car passed through the large iron gates that secured his property. Maya, who had napped for part of the ride, woke as the vehicle came to a smooth stop in front of the house. Her sleepy eyes widened at the sight of the mansion. It wasn't an extravagant palace like in the fairy tales her mother used to tell, but to a child who had slept under bridges and in store entrances, it looked like something out of a dream. The three-story house, with large illuminated windows and an elegant facade, stood tall under the soft glow of the garden lights. "We're here," Damon announced, helping her out of the car. "Let's go inside. It's getting cold." Maya held his hand tightly as they climbed the short steps to the front door. A middle-aged woman with grey hair pinned in a bun awaited them in the entrance, her face showing a contained surprise at the little visitor. "Mr. Cross, we weren't expecting—" she began, eyeing Maya curiously. "This is Maya, Mrs. Winters," Damon interrupted gently. "She'll be staying with us tonight. Could you prepare the guest room next to my office? It's the coziest one." The housekeeper nodded promptly, her expression softening as she noticed the child's bare feet and tattered clothes. "Of course, sir. I can also draw a hot bath and find some clothes." "That would be perfect," Damon thanked her. "And maybe something light to eat afterward." Right away, while Mrs. Winters walked off to fulfill his requests, Damon guided Maya through the entrance hall. The girl walked carefully, as though afraid to break something or stain the immaculate marble floor with her dirty feet. "Don't worry," said Damon, noticing her hesitation. "This house is too big and too empty. A little life won't hurt it one bit." Maya looked around, taking in every detail: paintings on the walls, seemingly endless staircases, chandeliers that sparkled like stars. Everything was new to her. Everything was different from the world she was used to. "It's the most beautiful house I've ever seen," she whispered, gripping Damon's hand as if afraid it would all vanish if she let go. "Come on, I'll show you where you'll stay," he replied with a smile, leading her down a side hallway. The guest room, though one of the smaller ones in the house, was still spacious and welcoming. A queen-size bed with immaculate white linens dominated the space. There was a small desk in one corner, a sofa near the window, and a door leading to a private bathroom. Maya stopped at the doorway, almost afraid to enter. "This whole room is just for me?" she asked incredulously. "Yes, just for you," Damon confirmed. "Mrs. Winters is preparing a hot bath. Then you can put on clean clothes and have something to eat before sleeping." As if on cue, the housekeeper appeared with a light blue t-shirt that looked like it belonged to Damon and a pair of shorts with a drawstring waist. They'll be big, but good enough for tonight, she explained, placing them on the bed. The bath is ready, dear. I'll help you. Maya looked at Damon for reassurance. He nodded encouragingly. Go with Mrs. Winters. She'll take care of you while I fix something for us to eat, all right? The girl agreed timidly and followed the housekeeper to the bathroom. 40 minutes later, she emerged looking like a different person. The dirt that covered her skin was gone, revealing a healthy, fair complexion. Her hair, now clean, fell in brown curls framing her delicate features. Wearing Damon's oversized t-shirt, which looked more like a dress on her slender frame, and the shorts tightened by the drawstring, she finally looked like any other child. Mrs. Winters had left, and Damon waited in the small sitting area adjacent to the bedroom, with a tray holding sandwiches, sliced fruit, and a glass of warm milk. Feeling better now? He asked as Maya approached, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. She nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. The shower had real hot water, she remarked as though it was extraordinary, and Mrs. Winters washed my hair with a shampoo that smells so nice. Damon patted the seat beside him on the sofa. Come, have something to eat. You must be hungry. Maya needed no further invitation. She sat down and picked up one of the sandwiches cut into perfect triangles. She took a cautious bite, then a larger one, her eyes shining at the taste. It's the best sandwich I've ever had, she declared between bites. Damon smiled, watching her with a mix of tenderness and sadness. How could something as simple as a hot bath and a homemade sandwich seem like extraordinary luxuries to a child? As they ate in comfortable silence, he wondered about her past. How had such a small child ended up alone on the streets? Where had she come from? Who was her family? Maya, he began carefully after she finished her second sandwich, you told me your mommy went to heaven. Can you tell me a little more about what happened? You don't have to if you don't want. The girl took a sip of milk, leaving a small white mustache above her lip. She thought for a moment, as though organizing her memories. Mommy got very sick, she finally said, her small voice firm. She coughed a lot and was always tired. We lived in a tiny room in the back of a big house. The owner let us stay because Mommy cleaned and cooked for her. Damon nodded gently, encouraging her to continue. When she got too sick to work, the owner said we had to leave. Mommy said she'd get better soon, but... Maya paused, her eyes filling with tears. She didn't. One day she went to sleep and never woke up. A single tear rolled down the girl's cheek. Damon felt a lump in his throat, resisting the urge to hug her, afraid of scaring her. And after that, the owner called some people in uniforms. They took Mommy away. They said things about social services, and that they were going to take me too. But I got scared. So you ran away, Damon finished softly. Maya nodded. I grabbed my backpack with pictures of Mommy and our things, but then a bigger kid stole it while I was sleeping. Now I don't even have her photo anymore. Her chin trembled slightly, but she swallowed her tears, displaying a resilience only children who have been through too much can possess. How long ago was that, Maya? Not sure. Lots of days. She counted on her small fingers. Maybe 3 weeks? Damon felt a surge of emotion so intense he had to take a deep breath to steady himself. A 4-year-old child alone on the streets for almost a month, with no one to protect her, feed her, or simply offer a hug when she was scared. I'm so sorry, Maya, he finally said, his voice hoarser than he intended. No one should go through what you did, especially someone so small. She shrugged, a gesture that seemed to say she'd already accepted her reality. It's all right. Today I got cake and I met you. The simplicity of that statement hit Damon like a punch. While he amassed wealth and lived in a mansion with empty rooms, children like Maya considered a slice of cake and a kind stranger as great blessings. Maya, he said, looking her directly in the eye, I want you to know you're not alone anymore. I won't leave you helpless. We'll figure out together what to do, but I promise you won't go back to the streets. The girl looked at him with those wide eyes that were far too wise for her age. You really promise? You won't change your mind tomorrow? I promise, Damon replied without hesitation. Tomorrow, we'll start figuring everything out to make sure you're safe and okay. Maya held out her pinky finger. Then it's a pinky promise. Damon smiled and hooked his pinky finger around hers, sealing the pact. A pinky promise, he confirmed. Satisfied, Maya yawned, exhaustion finally overcoming the day's excitement. I think someone's ready to sleep, Damon commented, standing up. Let's get you to bed. He helped her under the soft sheets, surprised at how natural the gesture felt, though he had never had children nor taken care of one before. Thanks for everything, Mr. Damon, Maya murmured, her eyes already closing. You can just call me Damon, he replied gently. Sleep well, Maya. I'll be in the room at the end of the hall if you need anything, all right? She nodded sleepily. Good night, Damon. Good night, little one. Damon turned off the main lights, leaving only a soft bedside lamp, and left the room. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall for a moment, processing everything that had happened in the last few hours. The charity gala, the confrontation with Elisa, and now an orphaned child sleeping in his home. None of this had been in his plans when he woke up that morning, yet he felt an inexplicable certainty that he was doing the right thing. Perhaps for the first time in a long while, morning arrived with sunbeams filtering through the partially open curtains. Maya woke with a start, momentarily confused by the bed's comfort and the unfamiliar surroundings. She sat up quickly, her heart racing, until memories of the previous night returned. The gala, the cake, Damon, the huge house. It hadn't been a dream. She was really there, in a clean, safe room far from the streets. A soft knock at the door made her straighten up even more. Maya, are you awake? Damon's voice sounded from the other side. Yes, she answered, her voice still thick with sleep. The door opened and Damon walked in, already dressed in slacks and a light blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He was smiling, looking genuinely happy to see her. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Maya nodded, a small smile forming on her face. The bed is really soft. I'm glad. I made breakfast. Want to come eat? She jumped out of bed almost instantly, making Damon laugh. I see someone's hungry. Here. He handed her a small package. Mrs. Winters brought this over early. I thought it might fit until we buy proper clothes for you. Maya opened the package and found a simple floral cotton dress and a pair of white sandals. They're her granddaughters, Damon explained. She thought they might fit you. They're pretty, Maya murmured, touching the fabric reverently. I'll wait outside while you get dressed, all right? If you need help, just call. Minutes later, Maya emerged from the room wearing the floral dress which fit perfectly. The sandals were a bit big, but she didn't seem to mind. Her hair, though a little messy, now formed natural curls framing a clean, well-rested face. Hey, you look lovely, Damon praised, noting how different she seemed from the frightened child of the previous night. Maya smiled shyly and took the hand he offered. Together, they walked to the spacious kitchen, where a table was set with pancakes, fruit, juice, and milk. I made pancakes, Damon announced proudly. I'm not the best cook, but I can manage these. Maya's eyes gleamed at the sight of the meal. She sat carefully in the chair Damon pulled out and waited for him to sit before taking anything, showing a surprising politeness for someone so young. Feel free to eat as much as you like, Damon encouraged, serving her a pancake and a bit of chocolate syrup. Maya needed no further prompting. She devoured the food with enthusiasm, though maintaining good manners, another sign she'd been well raised before ending up on the streets. As they ate, she looked curiously around the spacious kitchen with its modern appliances and abundant natural light. Your house is really nice, she commented between bites. Thank you, Damon replied. But sometimes it feels too big for just one person. You live alone? No kids? Or as a wife? Maya asked with a child's direct curiosity. No, Damon smiled. I've never been married, and I don't have children. I spend most of my time working. Doing what? I run a company that makes computers and other technology. Maya nodded, though it was clear she didn't fully grasp what that meant. Her gaze soon drifted toward the window, offering a view of the backyard. Can I see the outside afterward? She asked hopefully. Of course, Damon agreed. But first, I have to make some phone calls. I need to talk to people who can help us figure out what to do so you'll be safe and well taken care of. Maya's smile wavered slightly. Are you going to send me away? No, no, Damon quickly reassured her. Remember our pinky promise. I'll take care of you, but we need to handle this the right way legally. I'm thinking about your long-term well-being. The explanation seemed to calm her a bit. What are we doing today? She asked, resuming her pancake. I thought we could buy you some clothes and other things you need. What do you think? Maya's eyes lit up. Can I choose? Of course you can, Damon smiled, delighted by her enthusiasm. After breakfast, while Maya explored the living room under Mrs. Winters' supervision, Damon retreated to his home office. He made several calls to his lawyer, to a contact in social services, and to cancel all his meetings for the next few days. You realize this won't be simple, right? His lawyer said over the phone. A child without proper documentation, whom you basically found. There will be a lot of questions, a lot of bureaucracy. I'm aware, Damon replied firmly, but she has no one, Jack. She was living on the streets. I can't just turn a blind eye. I understand. I'll begin the legal procedures right away. Meanwhile, as her temporary guardian, keep records of everything. Who you contacted, when, what was said. It'll help later. When Damon finally emerged from the office, he found Maya sitting on the living room floor, diligently drawing with colored pencils Mrs. Winters had found for her. Ready to go shopping? He asked, smiling at her concentration. Maya stood up excitedly, showing him her drawing. 2 stick figures, one big and one small, holding hands. That's you, she explained, pointing to the bigger figure, and that's me. Damon felt warmth spread in his chest. That's a lovely drawing, Maya. We can put it on the fridge when we get back. She smiled, a genuine grin that lit up her whole face. During the ride to the mall, Maya was fascinated by everything she saw out the car window, asking questions about the buildings, the parks, and the people. Damon answered patiently, surprised by her keen curiosity. At the department store, Maya was initially shy, refusing to point out what she wanted. But with Damon's gentle encouragement, she was soon trying on dresses, t-shirts, and pants, her eyes shining with excitement at each new item. I can really pick whatever I like, she asked incredulously, when Damon suggested she try on a red dress that had caught her eye. Within reason, he teased her with a smile. We need everyday clothes, a few nicer outfits, and everything else you need to be comfortable. Maya chose carefully, always opting for simple, practical items, rarely the most expensive or flashy. Damon noticed that, despite her age, she had already learned to be moderate in her desires, a harsh lesson for a child. In the shoe section, after choosing 2 basic pairs, Maya was enchanted by a pink sandal decorated with little flowers. They're really pretty, she whispered, touching them delicately. Do you want to try them on? Damon asked. She nodded timidly. When the sales assistant brought her size and Maya slipped them on, her face lit up with a smile that made Damon decide on the spot that they would buy them, no matter the price. They seem to fit perfectly, he said, crouching to check. They're the most beautiful thing I've ever had, Maya said, admiring her feet. Damon felt that intense emotion again. For many children, a pair of sandals like those would be ordinary, maybe even ignored among so many others. For Maya, they were a treasure. After paying for their purchases, which included not just clothes and shoes, but also pajamas, underwear, children's toiletries, and a few simple toys, Damon noticed Maya looked slightly tired, though she tried to hide it. How about we head home? We can have lunch and then you can rest for a bit, he suggested. Maya agreed, discreetly stifling a yawn. On the way to the car, she held Damon's hand more firmly than before, as if no longer afraid he would vanish. Thank you for the clothes, she said once they were in the vehicle. No one except my mommy ever gave me gifts like this before. Damon felt a wave of protectiveness so intense it startled him. In less than 24 hours, this small girl had woven her way into his heart in a manner he never imagined possible. You deserve this and much more, Maya, he replied softly. As he drove back home, he watched in the rearview mirror as she admired her new sandals, a contented smile on her face. Something within him was changing. A desire to protect, to care, to ensure that Smile never faded. It wasn't just compassion or a sense of duty. It was something deeper, more instinctive, something dangerously close to what he imagined paternal love might be like. The Sunday sun shone in a cloudless sky as Damon parked his car near the city's central park. Over the past few days, Maya had adapted remarkably well to her new routine. The new clothes, regular meals, and the safety of a home had brought about a visible transformation. Her complexion looked healthier, her eyes shone brighter, and she no longer shrank at every sudden movement. "We're here," he announced, turning off the engine. "What do you think?" Maya pressed her face against the window, taking in the wide green space dotted with families having picnics, children running around and dogs chasing frisbees. "Can we really stay here?" she asked, her voice full of anticipation. "All day, if you like," Damon smiled, getting out to open her door. Maya jumped out, her new white sneakers touching the asphalt. She wore a simple yellow dress and a headband she had chosen at the store with special interest. She looked like any other child on a day out, except for the way her eyes absorbed every detail with an intensity that revealed how long she'd been deprived of such moments. She held Damon's hand as they walked through the park's entrance. Her gaze bounced from the duck pond to the colorful swings, from cotton candy vendors to a group of children playing ball. "Where do you want to start?" Damon asked. Maya timidly pointed to the playground where other kids were playing. "Can I go there?" "Of course you can." She hesitated for a moment, as if needing further confirmation, then took a few cautious steps toward the playground. She looked back once more, saw Damon's encouraging nod, and finally ran toward the swings. Damon sat on a nearby bench, from where he could watch her clearly. For the first few minutes, Maya merely observed the other children, staying on the outskirts of their play. Then, slowly, she approached a girl who was playing alone in the sandbox. From his vantage point, Damon couldn't hear what they were saying, but he saw the other child smile and offer Maya a plastic shovel. Soon, the two were building sandcastles together, chatting animatedly. Maya laughed for the first time, a genuine, spontaneous laughter that shook her shoulders and lit up her entire face. Even from a distance, the sound struck Damon like a revelation. Over the following hours, Maya slid down the slide, swung high enough to nearly touch the sky with her feet, and spun on the carousel until she was dizzy with laughter. She accepted the cotton candy Damon bought, devouring it in typical childhood abandon, leaving a pink mustache around her mouth. "Having fun?" he asked when she ran back to the bench for a sip of water. "It's the best day of my life," she declared, her eyes shining. Something in that simple statement deeply moved Damon. A day at the park, something so trivial for many children, was the best day for Maya. How many other children lived deprived of such basic joys? How many might never experience the freedom to just play without worry? As he watched her run back to the swings, an idea began forming in his mind. The charity event he'd organized had raised substantial funds, but money alone wasn't enough. Children like Maya needed more than occasional donations. They needed ongoing structure, constant care, and real opportunities. Perhaps it was time to expand his vision, not just supporting existing institutions, but creating something new. A center that could offer shelter, education, health services, recreation. A place where abandoned children could find not just protection, but a genuine chance at life. The sun was setting when they finally decided to head home. Maya, exhausted but radiant, held Damon's hand confidently as they walked back to the car. "Can we come back another day?" she asked, yawning. "Anytime you want," he promised. After dinner, Damon put Maya to bed. She already had a set routine: bath, pajamas, a glass of milk, and a bedtime story. The small normalities that built a sense of safety. "Did you enjoy the park today?" Damon asked, tucking the blanket around her. Maya nodded, but there was a shadow in her eyes that hadn't been there during the day. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. "Something bothering you?" She fidgeted with the edge of the blanket, avoiding his gaze. "Damon," she finally began, her voice almost a whisper, When you find a better kid than me, will you send me away? The question hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, he was speechless. Maya, he said at last, sitting on the edge of the bed, there is no better kid. You're not a toy that can be traded or thrown away. She stared at him, her eyes searching for truth in his words. But what if I do something wrong? Or if you get tired of me? Damon realized the depth of her fear. It wasn't just the trauma of losing her mother, but the constant terror of being abandoned again. Maya, I'm here with you not because it's convenient or temporary, but because I care. Truly, nothing will change that. Promise. I promise. And you know what? Every day we spend together only makes me more sure of it. Maya smiled, a small but genuine smile. She reached out her arms and, for the first time, initiated a hug, wrapping them around Damon's neck with surprising strength for someone so little. I like you a lot, she murmured against his shoulder. I like you a lot too, little one, Damon replied, overwhelmed by emotion. When Maya finally fell asleep, Damon stayed by her side for a few moments, watching her peaceful face. The tranquility he saw there was a silent testament to the trust beginning to blossom between them. He left the room, closing the door halfway, exactly as she preferred. Somehow, in the few days since he'd found her at the charity event, his life had changed completely. And, surprisingly, it was a change he embraced wholeheartedly. Perhaps it was time to consider not just a project to help anonymous children, but a more permanent commitment to the little girl who had unexpectedly entered his life. Jack Winter's law office occupied an entire floor in a building in the city's financial district. Through the wide glass windows, Damon watched the urban bustle as he waited for their meeting to begin. He had scheduled this conversation with unwavering determination after 2 weeks of caring for Maya. Thank you for fitting this meeting in on short notice, Damon said as Jack entered, accompanied by a middle-aged woman with grey hair and a serious expression. Damon, this is Christine Alvarez, Jack introduced, indicating seats around the conference table. She's a social worker with 15 years of experience in adoption cases. Christine extended her hand. Mr. Cross, Jack gave me a brief explanation of your situation. The three sat down, and Damon got straight to the point. I want to adopt Maya legally. I want her to be my daughter, not just a child under my temporary care. Jack and Christine exchanged quick glances. Damon, Jack began, leaning forward, I understand your desire, but I need to warn you, adoption is neither a simple nor a quick process, especially in this case. Maya doesn't have complete documentation, Christine continued. You found her under unusual circumstances. We need to locate birth certificates, check for any other relatives, follow all the legal protocols. How long could that take? Damon asked. In uncomplicated cases, 6 months to a year. In yours? Christine hesitated. Potentially longer. And there are other factors to consider. Like what? Single adoptive parents face extra scrutiny, especially men wanting to adopt little girls. She held his gaze. Your professional history will be questioned. Long work hours, frequent travel, commitments that compete with the time needed to raise a child. Damon felt a flicker of discomfort, but held firm. I'm willing to reorganize my entire professional life. Maya is my priority now. I don't doubt your intentions, Christine replied, but the adoption system aims to ensure the child's best interests. You'll need to demonstrate, concretely, that you can provide not just financial resources, but also emotional presence and stability. I'll do whatever it takes, Damon affirmed. I've already changed my work schedule. I hired a private tutor to start her formal education. I'm even considering reducing my executive role so I can spend more time at home. Jack raised his eyebrows, surprised. He'd known Damon for years and had never imagined him sacrificing his career for anything. That shows commitment, Christine acknowledged. Still, the process will have its challenges. There will be interviews, psychological evaluations, unannounced home visits. Your life will be scrutinized in detail. I understand, and I accept. Christine nodded, making some notes. One last question for now. Have you talked to Maya about this? A 4-year-old might not fully grasp the concept of adoption, but her emotional consent is crucial. Damon shook his head. Not yet. I wanted to understand the process first so I can explain it properly to her. That's sensible, Christine agreed. If she shows discomfort or reluctance, we'll have to reconsider. Her well-being comes first. Of course, Damon said. I'd never move forward if it upset her. The meeting went on for another hour, discussing necessary documents, estimated timelines, and next steps. By the end, Damon felt a mixture of determination and concern. The path was more complex than he had imagined, but his decision was made. Later that afternoon, while Maya played in the garden under Mrs. Winters' supervision, Damon watched her through his home office window. She ran after butterflies, laughing whenever one slipped just out of reach. Her spontaneous joy was contagious. How to explain adoption to a child who had already lost so much? How to help her understand that he wanted to be her permanent father, without pressuring or scaring her? That evening, after dinner, Damon invited Maya to have hot chocolate on the back porch. It was a little ritual they had established, quiet moments before bed, talking about the day or just gazing at the stars together. Maya, he began once they were settled side by side, are you happy here with me? The girl nodded emphatically, holding a unicorn-decorated mug, her pick during a shopping trip. Very happy. You make the best hot chocolate in the world, Damon smiled. I'm glad to hear that, because I'm also very happy to have you here. He took a breath, searching for the right words. Maya, do you know what adoption is? She tilted her head thoughtfully. It's when someone takes a puppy from a shelter home, right? Well, that too, Damon said, touched by her association. But it also works for children. When an adult wants to become the parent of a child who needs a family, they can adopt. Maya's eyes widened a bit. Like getting a new family. Exactly. The child gets parents, and the adults get a son or daughter. Legally, they become a real family. Maya was silent for a few moments, processing. Her small hands gripped her mug as though for stability. Maya, Damon continued gently, I'd really like to adopt you. That means I would be your dad. Not just the person who's taking care of you now, but your dad forever. And you would be my daughter. The girl's eyes sparkled, but a shadow of worry crossed them. But what if they don't let you? She asked softly. What if they say you can't be my dad? Damon felt his stomach tighten. Even so young, Maya understood that not everything was within his control. A lesson learned the hard way. There are people who have to make sure I'm a good father to you, he explained. It might take some time and they'll ask a lot of questions, but I'll do everything I can to show that I want to give you a home and a forever family. I want you to be my dad, Maya stated with surprising clarity. I don't want to go anywhere else. Damon felt another lump in his throat. Then we'll work on this together. Okay? Meanwhile, we'll keep things as they are, you staying here, both of us taking care of each other. Maya nodded solemnly, then asked, when you're really my dad, can I call you Daddy? The simplicity of the question nearly overwhelmed him. Maya, he said tenderly, you can call me Daddy whenever you feel like it, even before it's official. It's how you see me that matters, not a piece of paper. A small smile lit up the girl's face, and she went back to sipping her hot chocolate, apparently satisfied with the answer. In the following weeks, Damon split his time between preparations for the adoption process and a project he had been brewing since he met Maya. One Wednesday morning, he convened a meeting with 5 influential business people, colleagues from the past who respected his vision and shared, to varying degrees, his social values. The New Beginning Center, Damon explained, projecting slides on a big screen, won't be just a temporary shelter. We're talking about a comprehensive complex: housing, education, medical assistance, psychological support, and recreational activities for children on the streets or in extreme vulnerability. Ambitious, noted Elena Reyes, CEO of a hospital network, and expensive. Which is why I'm proposing a partnership, Damon replied. Each of us contributes resources and expertise in different areas. Financially, I'm committing 30% of the initial investment. What motivated such a specific initiative? Asked Thomas Chen, an investor known for pragmatism. You've always supported social causes, but never with such direct involvement. Damon hesitated briefly, then opted for honesty. I met a girl, Maya. She was alone asking for food at a charity event I organized. His voice grew more intense as he continued. She showed me the gulf between our abstract charity and the real needs of these children. I'm now in the process of adopting her. A surprised hush filled the room. That changes everything, Elena smiled. Count me in. I can guarantee full medical support. One by one, the other participants offered their support. By the end of the meeting, the New Beginning Center had not only secured initial funding, but also a team of experts committed to making it a reality. The routine at Damon's house soon found its rhythm. Maya woke up early, had breakfast with him, then spent a few hours with a private tutor. Afternoons varied, playtime, short educational outings, and, more recently, swimming lessons in the property's pool. Damon reorganized his work schedule, delegating more responsibilities and holding most of his meetings via video call. Being present for Maya's important moments had become his undisputed priority. One evening, while they prepared dinner together, or rather, Damon cooked while Maya helped by stirring ingredients and making more mess than actual help, he realized how much his life had changed. The once pristine, rarely used kitchen now displayed her drawings on the fridge, colorful dishware chosen especially for Maya, and the occasional toy left in a corner. Careful not to spill, he warned gently as Maya lifted a spoonful of sauce a bit too high. Sorry, she replied, focusing intently on the task. I'm trying to help the right way. You're helping perfectly, Damon assured her. Dinner is going to be delicious thanks to you. Maya beamed with pride. Mommy used to let me help in the kitchen too. She said I was the best chef's assistant in the world. Damon noticed that in recent weeks, Maya had begun mentioning her mother more often, without the sharp pain of before, but with natural fondness and longing. A healthy sign, according to the child therapist he'd arranged for her. As they served the meal, spaghetti with tomato sauce, one of Maya's favorites, Damon asked about her day with the tutor. I learned 5 more words today, she announced proudly. And Miss Lily said, I'm really good at math. That's wonderful, Maya. I'm very proud of you. She smiled, twisting spaghetti around her fork with growing skill. After a few minutes of casual talk about weekend plans, Maya paused, a pensive look on her face. Do you think Mommy would be sad if I have a new daddy? The question caught Damon off guard. Why would you think that? Because, Maya hesitated, because she was my mommy, and mommies and daddies stay together. Damon chose his words carefully. Maya, I'm sure your mother only wanted you to be happy and safe. She loved you very much, and people who love us want what's best for us, even if they can't be here anymore. Maya seemed to weigh that answer seriously. I think you're right, she finally said. She always said she wanted me to be very happy. They continued eating in a comfortable silence. Then, almost casually, Maya commented, The food is really good, Daddy. The word hung in the air for a moment. Damon froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. Maya, realizing what she'd said, blushed deeply. Sorry, she mumbled, lowering her gaze. It just slipped out. Damon needed a few seconds to recover his voice, overwhelmed by emotion. No, Maya, he said at last. Don't apologize. I loved hearing that. You're not mad. Mad. Maya, it's the greatest gift you could give me. A hesitant smile lit up her face. So, can I call you that? Daddy. Nothing would make me happier, Damon replied, feeling a tear escape the corner of his eye. That night, as he tucked Maya into bed, Damon felt a deep certainty settle in his heart. No matter what bureaucratic hurdles they faced, no matter how long the investigations or the process took, he would be that girl's father. Officially, legally, forever. Good night, sweetheart, he whispered, kissing her forehead. Good night, Daddy, she replied sleepily, the term now used with confidence and ease. Stepping out of her room, leaving the door ajar as she preferred, Damon felt he finally understood the real meaning of family. It wasn't about blood ties or official papers, but about belonging to each other, unconditionally. The news exploded on a Thursday morning. Billionaire Damon Cross takes in homeless girl and plans a center for needy children, blared from the front page of the city's most influential newspaper. Within hours, the story was circulating on every TV channel and news website. Damon found out about the exposure when his phone started ringing non-stop. His press advisor tried to contain the damage, but it was too late. Details about Maya had leaked, including a blurry photo of her at the park on one of their Sunday outings. "We need to issue an official statement," the advisor insisted. "The press is camped at the mansion gates." Damon looked out the window. Indeed, cameras, reporters, and TV vans were everywhere. His first instinct was to protect Maya, who was innocently playing in the backyard, unaware of the storm brewing. "Cancel my appointments," he told the advisor, "and prepare a statement asking people to respect the child's privacy. I'll talk about the social project, but Maya is off limits." Later that day, as Maya returned from her swimming lesson, a photographer jumped out from behind a bush, camera flash going off repeatedly. The girl screamed in fright, clinging to Damon's legs. "Please answer, just one photo of the girl who changed your life," the paparazzo pleaded, even as security escorted him off the property. That night, Maya refused to sleep alone. "What if the cameraman comes back?" she whispered, clutching the teddy bear Damon had given her. "No one's coming in here, honey," he promised, sitting by her bed. "I've increased security. Those people are just curious because Daddy is well known, but they'll lose interest soon." "Why do they care about us?" she asked, confused. Damon sighed. "Sometimes people like knowing about other people's lives, but what matters is what happens in here, between you and me. The rest is just noise." The New Beginnings Center gained unexpected momentum from the media coverage. Potential investors began calling Damon's office every day. "Project popularity has tripled," Elena announced during a virtual meeting. "We've received offers from 5 major companies wanting to sponsor entire wings of the complex. Check their intentions," Damon instructed. "We don't want partners who only want publicity. This center isn't going to be yet another gala event for celebrities to pose with needy children." "Some proposals seem genuine," Thomas opined, "especially from the Hillman Foundation. They have a solid track record in social projects." Damon nodded. "Schedule meetings. But be transparent. The center will have strict operating standards, focused on the children's dignity, not the donors' visibility." While public debates intensified, some analysts praising the initiative as practical philanthropy, others questioning whether it was personal marketing, life inside Cross Mansion continued in its own rhythm. One Saturday afternoon, Maya and Damon were in the library. She was absorbed in a storybook, trying to sound out the words on her own. He watched her with discreet pride. "Daddy," she said, raising her eyes from the book, "I want to learn to read really well." "I can see you're trying hard," he smiled. "So you're making great progress." Maya closed the book and came closer, her eyes shining with childish determination. "I want to learn everything, reading, writing, counting. When I grow up, I want to help you take care of other kids like me." Damon felt a wave of emotion. "What do you mean?" "In your project," she explained. "I want to work with you, because I know what it's like not to have a home." He hugged her, hiding the tears in his eyes. "That would make me so proud," he whispered. That evening, while the news debated his motivations and intentions, whether his act was genuine generosity or self-promotion, whether his fortune could make up for inexperience as a father, whether the New Beginnings Center would be just another short-lived venture by a bored billionaire, Damon watched Maya sleeping peacefully. The headlines questioned everything, but they didn't see what he saw. Maya laughing more often now, making future plans, and feeling safe enough to dream. Nothing else mattered compared to that. Publicity brought challenges, yes, but he would protect Maya at all costs while navigating these tumultuous waters. The world could watch and judge, but it did not understand what they'd found in each other. A bond that transcended headlines and opinions, built in the quiet moments shared day after day. The living room was perfectly arranged for the visit. Christine Alvarez, the social worker, observed everything attentively, taking notes on her clipboard. It was the 3rd visit in a month, part of the rigorous evaluation process for the adoption. Maya sat shyly on the couch, her legs swinging above the floor. She wore a blue dress chosen especially for the occasion, answering questions in a low voice and occasionally glancing at Damon as though seeking reassurance. "Maya, can you tell me about your daily routine here?" Christine asked in a professional but kind tone. "It's good," Maya said, biting her lip. Damon takes me to school, then we play, and he teaches me to read." "And when he's working, what do you do?" Maya hesitated, again looking at Damon. He smiled encouragingly. "Remember what we talked about, Maya," he said softly. "It's important to tell the truth." The girl nodded and turned back to Christine. "Sometimes he works in his office, and I stay with Mrs. Winters or Miss Lily, my teacher, but he always has dinner with me. Always." The interview went on for over an hour. When Christine finally left, Damon found Maya sitting on the staircase, chewing her thumbnail, a habit that surfaced only when she was anxious. "Did I do okay, Daddy?" she asked, her big eyes filled with worry. "I didn't say anything wrong." Damon sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her small shoulders. "You were perfect, Maya. Absolutely perfect. What if they don't let me stay with you?" "We're doing everything right," he assured her. "We have to trust the process. The important thing is that you're happy here, aren't you?" She nodded vigorously. "Happier than I've been since Mommy went away." As autumn advanced, turning the garden trees gold and red, Damon and Maya's routine solidified into comfortable patterns, interspersed with small traditions they created together. Every afternoon, after Maya got home from school, they spent an hour studying together at the library table, practicing reading, writing, and basic math. Damon discovered a patience he hadn't known he possessed, praising each correctly formed letter and every recognized number. "Look, Daddy, I wrote my whole name," Maya exclaimed one evening, showing him a sheet where Maya Cross was written in large, slightly crooked letters. The surname, not yet legally hers, brought tears to Damon's eyes. "It looks perfect," he said, saving the paper like a treasure. Weekends became carefully planned adventures, visits to children's bookstores where Maya could choose a new book, picnics in the park when the weather cooperated, matinee showings of animated films at the local theater. On one such outing, they stopped at a small music shop. Maya was enchanted by a colorful xylophone. "Would you like to learn music?" Damon asked, noticing her fascination. "Can I?" she replied, her eyes shining. The xylophone came home with them, along with a promise of music lessons. It didn't take long for the once silent, immaculate mansion to completely transform. Colorful drawings decorated the fridge, toys appeared in the most unexpected places, and the sound of small footsteps and bright laughter echoed through the halls. One Sunday morning, Damon was working in his office when he heard Maya singing. He followed the sound to the main hallway, finding her dancing while hugging her favorite teddy bear. The melody was a children's song she'd learned at school, filling the house with a joy that seemed to make even the old walls smile. Damon leaned against the doorway, watching without interrupting. Was this the same child who, months before, had trembled with fear asking for a piece of cake? The transformation was almost miraculous, her body healthier, her easy smile, her growing confidence. When Maya spotted him, she didn't stop singing. Instead, she ran to him and pulled his hands, inviting him to dance too. Damon, the always serious executive, let her twirl him down the hallway, laughing as he hadn't since his own childhood. Later, as he tucked Maya into bed, he felt a deep certainty fill his chest. The official paperwork, the evaluations, the interviews, those were mere formalities. In the day-to-day moments they shared, in the little rituals they'd created, in the laughter and the occasional tears, something unbreakable had already formed. "Good night, Maya Cross," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "Good night, Daddy," she murmured sleepily, hugging her teddy bear with one arm and holding Damon's hand with the other. The heart and the law don't always move in tandem, Damon thought. On paper, they were still awaiting the system's verdict. But in the reality that mattered, they'd been father and daughter for a long time. The New Beginnings Center was rising quickly. What had once been just architectural blueprints and budget projections was now taking shape on a wide plot of land outside the city. The foundations were complete, and the first structures were beginning to emerge from the ground. Each visit to the construction site filled Damon with a mix of pride and impatience. He wanted to see it finished, operating, changing lives. On that Thursday morning, an emergency meeting was called at the project's temporary office. Damon arrived early, reviewing documents while waiting for the team. Elena Reyes, the first to arrive, looked uncomfortable. "What's wrong, Elena?" Damon asked, noting her expression. "We got an unusual request," she replied hesitantly. "Elisa Rochefort got in touch. She wants to take part in the project." Damon froze. Since the incident at the charity event, he hadn't spoken a single word to Elisa. Her name was linked in his mind to that day that had changed his life, but not in a good way. "Elisa Rochefort," he repeated in disbelief. "The one who screamed at Maya, who humiliated her publicly." "Yes, exactly," Elena confirmed. "She claims to have deeply reflected on her actions and wants to redirect her philanthropic efforts towards something more substantial." "Hard to believe," Damon muttered. "She's offering a significant donation," Elena went on, "and connections to other potential donors." Before Damon could reply, Thomas Chen walked in, followed by 3 other executives. The topic of Elisa was briefly set aside while they handled the scheduled agenda, updates on construction timelines and hiring details. Once the meeting wrapped up, as everyone prepared to leave, Eleanor brought up the subject again. "So, about Elisa Rochefort's proposal. Should I schedule a meeting?" An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Everyone knew the story, knew how it had all begun. "What do you think, honestly?" Damon asked Elena. "Financially, it would be advantageous," she replied pragmatically. "Politically, too. She has influence in circles we haven't reached yet." "But," Damon prompted, sensing her hesitation, "but I don't trust such sudden conversions," Elena concluded, "especially from someone with her track record." Thomas, who'd been quietly observing, spoke up. "I suggest we at least hear her out. We don't have to accept anything. But automatically rejecting any support, even from questionable sources, might not be best for the project." Damon took a deep breath. The New Beginnings Center represented something bigger than his personal dislikes. If Elisa truly wished to help, would it be fair to reject her out of resentment? "Schedule the meeting," he decided at last. "But no commitments will be made without a thorough analysis of her terms." A week later, Elisa Rochefort arrived punctually for the meeting. Dressed in understated elegance, she carried a folder of documents and wore an expression mixing studied humility with her usual confidence. "Thank you for agreeing to see me, Damon," she said as she entered the conference room. "I know it must have been hard for you to say yes." Damon kept his tone formal, indicating a chair. "We're open to discussing any proposal that benefits the center." Eleanor and Thomas were also present, as was Jack Winters, Damon's lawyer, invited specifically as a precaution, a detail Elisa surely noticed. "As you can imagine," Elisa began, opening her folder, "I followed this project with great interest. The press has covered it extensively, and I must say, it's impressive what you're building." "Thank you," Damon replied tersely. "What's your concrete proposal, Elisa?" She offered a brief smile as if appreciating his directness. Straight to the point, as always. "I'm proposing a partnership. I can contribute $2 million to the construction fund, plus $500,000 annually over the next 5 years for maintenance." The numbers were substantial, even by the project's standards. Elena and Thomas exchanged quick looks. "In return," Jack, the lawyer, asked. "A seat on the board," Elisa answered promptly. "I want to help shape the center's vision, bringing my experience in charity events and fundraising." "Your experience is mostly with social events, not direct work with vulnerable children," Damon observed. "That's exactly why I want to be involved," she countered calmly. "What happened at the flower garden fax was a wake-up call. I realized my philanthropy was superficial. This project is a chance for redemption, if I may be honest." Damon studied her for a moment. There was something in her tone, an overly rehearsed humility, perhaps. "Why now, Elisa? The project has been underway for months." "Because I needed time to face my own mistakes," she answered, holding his gaze. "And maybe I needed to see that you were genuinely committed, not just leveraging a publicity opportunity. The meeting continued for another hour. Elisa presented ideas Damon had to admit were clever and potentially beneficial. She never once mentioned Maya or the adoption, focusing strictly on the social project. "We'll need time to review your proposal," Damon concluded when she finished. "Thank you for your interest, but understand our priority is the children's well-being." "Naturally," Elisa agreed, collecting her documents. "I'll await your response." When she left, a thoughtful silence hung in the room. "Thoughts?" Damon asked the others. "The financial offer is solid," Thomas commented. "Her motivations are still questionable," Elena added. "Such drastic transformations are rarely genuine." Jack, the lawyer who'd been quietly observing, finally spoke. "I advise extreme caution. Something tells me there's more to this sudden generosity than meets the eye." In the following days, Damon ordered a discreet investigation into Elisa's recent activities. The preliminary report showed nothing alarming. She indeed seemed to have shifted her philanthropic efforts, reducing her presence at glamorous events and increasing donations to child assistance organizations. "Maybe we're being unfair," Elena commented during a visit to the construction site. "People can change." Damon, watching the rising walls, nodded absently. "They can, but rarely without a reason." After a week of deliberation, the team decided to partially accept Elisa's proposal. They would welcome the donation, but her place on the board would be as an external consultant with no direct decision-making power. Jack Winters crafted a carefully worded contract, limiting her access to operational information. To Damon's surprise, Elisa accepted the terms without protest. "I understand your reservations," she said at the contract signing. "I'm willing to earn your trust gradually." Thus began a cautious collaboration between former adversaries. In the first meetings she attended, Elisa remained discreet, offering occasional suggestions about fundraising or how to increase the project's profile among potential donors. Damon, initially tense in her presence, began to consider the possibility that perhaps, just perhaps, she was genuinely committed to helping. That feeling lasted exactly 3 weeks and 2 days. It was during an expanded meeting with all partners and consultants that Damon noticed something unsettling. While they were discussing the administrative structure for the center, Elisa asked a seemingly innocent question. "Damon, considering your personal involvement in the project, how do you plan to balance it with your other responsibilities?" The tone and emphasis on other made Damon realize she was referring to Maya, though Elisa didn't mention her by name. "I have a competent team," he answered calmly, "and well-defined priorities." Elisa smiled. "Certainly. I'm just concerned about the project's long-term sustainability, given your multiple commitments." The conversation moved on, but that moment left Damon on alert. In subsequent meetings, he noticed how Elisa often steered the discussion toward questions of time, personal dedication, and family commitments, always tangentially, never referencing Maya outright. Occasionally, she jotted down notes disconnected from the day's topics. Whenever someone mentioned the adoption, news that had circulated among close partners, Elisa showed a particular interest, asking questions about legal procedures and psychological evaluations. "She's gathering information," Jack commented after watching her in one meeting. "And not just about the project." Damon got confirmation of his suspicions when Christine Alvarez, the social worker handling Maya's case, casually mentioned during a home visit. "Someone reached out to the agency recently. A woman named Elisa Rochefort. She said she knows you and wanted to express concerns about your suitability as an adoptive father." Damon felt a chill in his stomach. "What kind of concerns?" "Mainly about your busy schedule and supposed inexperience with children," Christine said. "Don't worry, we checked her background with you. Her allegations won't carry much weight in the final assessment, but the damage was done. A seed of doubt had been planted, and in adoption processes, any question could cause delays or complications." The final straw came on a Thursday morning. Damon had left his cell phone on the table during an executive committee meeting. Returning after a brief absence, he found Asha Patel, one of the project coordinators, looking at it with concern. "Damon," she said, handing him the device. "This was sent to me, but I think you should see it." It was a forwarded message, originally from Elisa to Asha. "My dear, I've noticed some troubling patterns. Are we sure a vulnerable child like Maya is truly getting the attention she needs from a man as busy as Damon? Maybe we should place her well-being above all. If you know anything that might help ensure she's genuinely in good hands, please let me know. Some children need traditional family structures, don't you think?" Damon's blood boiled. There was no more doubt about Elisa's intentions. She wasn't interested in the social project. She was using it as a platform to sabotage his adoption of Maya, likely out of revenge for the humiliation she'd felt at the charity gala. "How long has she been contacting you?" Damon asked Asha, controlling his voice. "This is the first direct message," Asha replied. "But she's asked a lot of questions. Many questions about you and Maya, about how you manage your time, if you seem tired, if you've ever shown impatience." Damon nodded grimly. "Thank you for telling me, Asha. Your loyalty means a lot." That same afternoon, he called an emergency meeting with his legal team and the project's main partners. Jack Winters arrived with 2 family law specialists, a precaution Damon appreciated. "The situation is clear," he said, displaying the gathered evidence, the message to Asha, the contact with the adoption agency, the suspicious notes in meetings. "Elisa Rochefort is using the New Beginning Center as an excuse to undermine my adoption of Maya." "For revenge?" Thomas asked, shocked. "That's extreme, even for her." "Some people can't stand to be contradicted publicly," Elena observed. "And that incident at the flower garden severely damaged her image in social circles." Jack is here reviewing the evidence, spoke decisively. "We have legal grounds to terminate all cooperation with her. The contract has specific clauses about ethical conduct and conflicts of interest." "What about her donation?" asked one of the partners. "We can return the full amount," Damon said without hesitation. "The center doesn't need money tainted by petty personal motives." The decision was unanimous. Elisa would be removed from the project, her donation refunded, and her access to any center-related information immediately revoked. "Draft an official statement," Damon instructed. "Professional tax without public accusations, but firm about our value incompatibility. And be prepared, she won't accept this quietly." Damon was right. Elisa's backlash was swift and furious. First, through her lawyer, she legally contested the decision. Then, she initiated a subtle but effective campaign of rumors in philanthropic and social circles. "She's spreading word that you excluded her out of selfishness and inability to accept constructive criticism," Elena reported after attending another charity event. "She suggests there might be aspects of the project you don't want scrutinized." "Let her talk," Damon replied, more worried about how her maneuvering might affect his adoption process. "Our actions and results will speak louder." Elisa's attorney also contacted the adoption agency, formally requesting that his client be heard as an interested party in the child's welfare. The request was denied for lack of legal or emotional ties to Maya, but the message was clear. Elisa was ready to use every tool to interfere. That night, Damon returned home mentally exhausted. The tension of recent weeks had piled up, and now, with the threat of Elisa hanging over his adoption of Maya, he felt the weight of worry like never before. Maya, always perceptive, immediately noticed his troubled expression during dinner. "Daddy, are you sad?" she asked, cutting off her excited recounting of the school day. Damon tried to smile. "Just a little tired, sweetheart. Rough day at work." Maya tilted her head, observing him with those eyes that seemed to see far beyond what most children her age could. "Is it because of the project, or is it because of me?" The question caught him off guard. "Why would it be because of you, Maya?" She fiddled with her fork, not meeting his gaze. "Sometimes grown-ups get tired of taking care of children." Damon set his utensils down and reached across the table to gently touch her arm. "Maya, look at me." When she lifted her eyes, he went on, "You're the best part of my day. Never ever think I'm tired of you." She nodded, looking relieved but still curious. "So it's the project, the place for kids like me." Damon hesitated. He'd promised himself he would never lie to Maya, but he also wanted to shield her from unnecessary worries. He chose a simplified truth. Yes, it's about the center, and also about our family. He paused carefully. Remember that woman from the first day, the one who shouted at you at the party? Maya's face scrunched slightly. The memory was still unpleasant. The lady in the red dress? Yes, that one. She's trying to complicate a few things, including our adoption. Maya's eyes widened. She doesn't want me to live with you. Why not? She doesn't even know me. It's not about you, Maya. She's mad at me about something that happened that day. The girl was silent for a few moments, digesting the information. Then, to Damon's surprise, her face took on a resolute expression. It doesn't matter what she does, Maya declared with surprising conviction. We're going to stay together. I know it. How can you be so sure? Damon asked, genuinely curious. Because you promised, she replied simply, and you never break promises. And because... She hesitated, as though searching for the right words. Because we're really a family now. Not on paper yet, but here. She pointed to her own heart. Damon felt his eyes fill with tears. Amid all the legal strategies, defensive maneuvers and project concerns, Maya's simple wisdom struck him with unexpected force. Somehow, this little girl, who had already faced so much, had a certainty he was losing sight of. You're absolutely right, he said, standing up to hug her. We are a family, with or without official papers, and nothing will change that. That night, as he put Maya to bed, Damon felt a renewed determination. Elisa Rochefort might have money, influence, and a thirst for revenge, but she'd never grasp what he and Maya had built together. And that bond, more than any legal strategy, would triumph in the end. Still, back in his study reviewing adoption documents, the worry lingered. The final hearing was 2 weeks away. Everything was going well, the reports were favorable, but a malicious complaint at the right time could at least cause significant delays. Sitting at his desk with the quiet house around him, Damon made a decision. He wouldn't wait to see what Elisa was planning. It was time to act preemptively, to reveal her true intentions before she could do irreversible damage. He picked up the phone and dialed Jack Winter's number. Jack, sorry to call so late. I need you to prepare a full dossier with all the evidence we have about Elisa Rochefort's conduct. We'll present it formally to the judge overseeing Maya's case before the final hearing. The strategy was clear. Rather than waiting for an attack, they would proactively expose the sabotage attempt, showing that any allegation from Elisa was driven by personal revenge rather than true concern for Maya's welfare. It was a risky move, but necessary. Because, as Maya had so simply stated, they were already a true family, and Damon would fight with all his might to protect that. The autumn sun bathed the front of the New Beginning Center in gold, its rays reflecting on the large windows that promised light and transparency, fundamental principles of the project. A red ribbon stretched across the main doors, the last symbolic barrier between the dream and reality. In a few minutes, it would be cut, marking the official start of a journey that for Damon and Maya had begun over a year ago with a single request for cake. Damon discreetly adjusted his navy blue tie, chosen by Maya that morning. It matches your eyes, Daddy. He observed with satisfaction the group gathered for the inauguration. About 50 people, including project partners, newly hired staff, representatives of social organizations, some families with children who would benefit, and journalists invited specifically for their commitment to humanitarian causes. It wasn't a crowd of celebrities, politicians and socialites who would normally attend an event associated with his name. The New Beginnings Center represented a new chapter in his life, one where authenticity and real impact mattered more than appearances or flashes of cameras. Maya, at his side, radiated a mix of curiosity, nervousness, and pride. She wore a light blue dress with small embroidered flowers, a personal choice during a shopping trip the week before, that swayed gently in the breeze. Her hair was neatly braided, framing a face that still bore traces of childhood sweetness, yet already showed the confidence of someone who knows she is loved and secure. On her chest, near her heart, Maya wore a small silver star brooch. It had been Damon's gift when the adoption was finalized a month earlier. "So you'll remember you're my star," he'd said, pinning it on her dress on that special morning in court. Now, it shimmered in the sunlight, as if giving approval to the day's event. "Are you nervous?" Damon asked, leaning in to speak softly. Maya bit her lip, thoughtful. "A little," she admitted. Then, with a smile that brightened her face, she added, "But I'm more happy than nervous, I think." "Me too," he confessed, gently squeezing her hand. Elena Reyes approached, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit. Months of collaborating on the project had turned their professional relationship into a genuine friendship. And now she smiled warmly to see father and daughter side by side. "We're ready when you are," she announced. "Thomas just arrived with the last invited families." Damon nodded, and with Maya firmly at his side, walked toward the small platform set up in front of the main entrance. He felt a brief tightening in his throat, not because of the speech, he was used to speaking in public, but because of the emotional weight of the moment. Here he was, with his daughter, about to open a project that would change countless lives, inspired by the child who had changed his own in unimaginable ways. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice softly amplified by the sound system. "Today we aren't just celebrating the opening of a building, but the birth of a permanent commitment to those our society often renders invisible." The speech flowed naturally as he explained the vision behind the New Beginnings Center, a comprehensive facility that provided more than temporary shelter, offering quality education, complete medical care, psychological support, and, fundamentally, an environment where each child would be seen for their individuality. "Our goal isn't just to feed and house," he continued, "but to nurture potential, foster dreams, and build futures. Because every child who passes through our doors carries unique talents and infinite possibilities, needing only fertile ground to bloom." He spoke about practical details, the capacity to initially serve 60 children full-time, plus another 100 in daytime programs, the multidisciplinary team of professionals hired, the educational programs tailored to different age groups and needs, and the expansion plans already under discussion for the coming years. When he reached the final part, his voice took on a more personal, emotional tone. "This center exists because, a little over a year ago, one brave girl dared to ask for a piece of cake at a charity event that claimed to help children, yet was structured in a way that no child who truly needed help would ever be there." He paused, his eyes finding Maya's as she watched him with clear pride. "She taught me that genuine solidarity isn't measured by signed checks or eloquent speeches, but by concrete actions that change individual lives." A soft murmur of approval rippled through the audience. Maya, though slightly shy under the sudden attention, stood tall with quiet dignity. "Since then, Maya has changed my life in ways I never imagined possible," Damon went on. "Now, officially my daughter, she will stand by my side as we work to offer other children the same safety, care, and hope we found in each other." Applause broke out spontaneously, and a few discreet tears sparkled among the crowd. Thomas Chen, one of the main investors, nodded with visible emotion. Mrs. Winters, who had insisted on attending despite it being her day off, dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. "Maya," Damon said, turning to her and extending his hand, "would you like to help me cut the ribbon?" The girl nodded eagerly, taking his offered hand. Together, they walked to the entrance and where a ceremonial pair of scissors rested on a small cushion. With their hands joined over the handle, they snipped the red ribbon as camera flashes went off and the crowd applauded. The New Beginnings Center was officially inaugurated. While Damon led officials and partners and journalists through the main complex, pointing out architectural features and explaining the philosophy behind each space, Maya found her own role in the celebration. With the natural ease of children, she approached other boys and girls who had come with their families, many of whom would soon benefit from the center. One girl, about 6 years old, stood apart, holding tightly to her mother's hand. A young woman with deep circles under her eyes and an exhausted expression that spoke of life's challenges. Maya watched them for a moment, then walked over with a friendly smile. "Hi," she greeted. "I'm Maya. What's your name?" "Lily," the girl replied shyly, half hiding behind her mother. "Do you want to look around? There are some really cool things inside." Lily glanced at her mother, who nodded encouragingly after sharing a quick, understanding look with Maya. "Go ahead, sweetie. I'll be right here talking to the lady." In the minutes that followed, Maya gave her new friend an impromptu tour of the center, showing every area with pride, as if she were part of it. "Here's where the kids will sleep," she explained, showing a dorm decorated in soft colors and cozy furniture. "Everyone has their own bed with clean sheets every night. And you can decorate your space however you want." Lily looked around with growing interest. "Do you live here?" "Not me," Maya said. "I live with my dad now. But before, when he found me, I didn't have a house. I slept on benches or in shop doorways if I could find a spot." Lily's eyes widened. "On the street, really?" Maya nodded. "My mummy died and I was alone. I was really scared, especially at night." She paused, then added confidently, "But the kids who come here won't have to be scared. There are good people here who really care." As they walked through the corridors, Maya pointed out details only a child would notice: the colorful slide in the outdoor playground, the small library with comfy beanbags for reading, and the music room full of instruments for everyone to use. "You know what's best," she confided while showing Lily the kitchen. "Here you don't have to beg for food. No one will yell at you for being hungry." Passing by an adjacent hallway with a group of visitors, Damon overheard her last words. His heart overflowed at the sight of Maya, once fearful and vulnerable, now offering comfort and hope to another child. He swallowed the lump in his throat and continued his tour, mentally capturing that moment as the most powerful proof of what they had achieved together. By the time they returned home, the sky was starting to darken, painted in shades of purple and orange. The day had been emotionally intense, full of speeches, questions, photos, and new friendships for Maya. In the car, she still brimmed with excitement about everything she'd seen and heard, though fatigue began to show. "I think Lily's going to like it there, Daddy," she commented as they entered the house. "Her mom works a lot and sometimes has no one to leave her with. At the center, she can study and play while her mom works, and she won't have to be alone." "You were a great ambassador," Damon smiled, helping her take off the light jacket she'd worn when the temperature dropped. "I'm very proud of you." After a relaxing bath and a light dinner, both felt the day's weight. Maya, already in her unicorn pajamas, asked to spend a bit of time in the reading room before bed. Damon readily agreed, and soon they were on the comfy sofa, her nestled against his chest, while flipping through a storybook. The scene was the embodiment of domestic peace: the low glow of the fireplace, the soft lamplight, the companionable silence of a home where words were not always necessary to convey affection. "Daddy," Maya murmured, looking up from the book. "Today was one of the best days of my life." "Mine too, Princess," Damon replied, gently running his hand over her hair. "I think Mommy would be happy to see the center," she continued thoughtfully. "She always said there were good people in the world. It's just hard to find them sometimes." Damon felt a knot in his throat. "I'm sure she would." "And she'd be happy I found you," Maya said, closing the book and snuggling closer. "Now I'm really Maya Cross for real, on paper and everything." Damon gazed at the child in his arms, reflecting on the extraordinary path they had traveled. A year ago, his life had revolved solely around the next business deal, the next acquisition, the next technological breakthrough. Now, his center of gravity had shifted completely, reoriented by the little girl who watched him with tired yet loving eyes. "Now we're a family forever," he said softly, placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. Maya smiled, her eyes bright despite her evident fatigue. "I love you, Daddy," she declared with the earnest simplicity of children. "I love you too, Maya. More than I ever thought possible." She yawned, snuggling even closer, and soon her breathing grew deep and steady. Damon remained still, cradling her, savoring the feeling of absolute certainty he'd rarely experienced before her. From a chance encounter came a genuine family. From witnessing an injustice arose a project that would transform hundreds of lives. The New Beginning Center and Maya's adoption were two sides of the same coin, both concrete expressions of the conviction that true love and commitment could heal wounds and build futures. Taking care not to wake her, he carried Maya to her room. gently tucking her under the covers among the stuffed animals and books that now filled what had once been an empty space. As he looked at her peaceful, sleeping face, Damon pondered how life had a surprising way of finding balance and meaning. "Good night, my little star," he whispered, adjusting the moon-shaped lamp that cast a soft glow, just the way Maya liked it. Stepping out and leaving the door ajar, Damon felt a serene certainty that, no matter what challenges the future held, the bond they had built, made of small moments, intense emotions, and unconditional love, would remain the unshakable foundation of their lives. And as he crossed the hall toward his own room, he imagined how many other Mayas would find their way to the New Beginnings Center, how many other stories of transformation would begin there. Their journey was only just beginning. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.